Confessions of St. Augustine, a 21st century Gauguin. Kitsch, camp, or commercialism. Well, it's true an artist can be aware of the pitfalls artists can fall into. More often than not, it's not a lack of insight, other than creating kitsch, which is a lack of insight, so much as it's a question of priorities. But you never stick to one theme here, Chief. They're all so different. Not in the overall sense. Fine, but I can't fit enough of them in my gallery to give that sense. What do you call this one? What the hell is this, Chief? Cores? Inside of some fucking teepee? Rosebud. A rosebud? No, I call it Rosebud. Rosebud. Yeah, like the reservation? Or Orson Welles' dying words in Citizen Kane. But you never stick to one theme here, Chief. They're all so different. Like this one, the one with all the cars. What's this one? What do you call this one, Chief? Jesus Christ, all those fucking cars. Monday morning, 9 a.m. A Monday morning name? Damn. Main Street, America, where we all have to go to work. Where do you see towns like that anymore? Homestead, about 20 miles south of here. Asshole. They're all so different. Like repeating it enough times makes it valid. Not in the overall sense. Fine, but I can't fit enough of them in here. Give that sense, whatever the hell that is. The American experience. The American experience? Sounds like the title of some fucking PBS special. Well, they're not regional. They're not original? I said they're not regional. Regional! Too broad. You got no handle. Nothing they could define you by. How about the American dream? The Eden experience? Natty Bumppo's America, for better or for worse? Or Huckleberry Finn's or Holden Caulfield's? They've never been in here. Who? Natty what's-his-face and Goldfeld. What? Look, I'd have them in the register if they did. Either that or they're just lookers. Shit. Look, Wyeth did Chadds Ford in Maine. Hopper did the Northeast. Birchfield did the Midwest. But who's done the whole country? But I can't show the whole fucking country. That's what I'm trying to tell you here, Chief. The gallery isn't big enough. It would be for a one-man show. It'd be like taking a trip across country, like jumping in your car and just cruising. Too big a gamble. You're not a known. This'll make me a known. Yeah, either that or it'll make me an unknown. Look, I like your stuff. But it's too big a gamble. I gotta see some demand for it first. And frankly, I don't think you're gonna get that, Chief, unless you can focus more. Stick to one thing. Focus more, stick to one thing. The major theme of my life? Focus more, and he's telling me I gotta focus more. What's so unfocused about making a comment on man's desire to go back to Eden? The Edenic wish. With America as the ultimate metaphor. The American dream. It's not the New England dream or any other dream. The Brazilian dream or the Rhode Island dream. The only place more focused is the islands, the last place left, where it all started. And why am I even bothering with all this? It's not like I'm getting anywhere, or he's the be-all and end-all in the art world. The asshole's a used car salesman. For all I know, he went directly from selling used cars to selling art. And common sense dictates he should have walked out after the first chief anyway, right? But common sense wasn't a luxury I could always afford back then either, when I had no other choice but to sell as soon as possible. So I'd always concede and leave my 2 token paintings to try, as they say. Must have had 2 token paintings in every major city in the country, all waiting for someone who just couldn't wait to buy up all those other token paintings that were spread out over 3,000 miles. They were just a matter of time. Yeah, back when we first entertained the illusion that it really was just a matter of time, many galleries ago. And I guess I should have seen it for what it was back then, but I figured it was harmless enough at the time, and ironically for a while there, it really was. At least until I started to make money and take it seriously. The art, that is. The money, I guess I never did. Figured that was her department, and I suppose it really got her when, ironically, the more I took the art seriously, the less money I made. What difference does it make? Just crank out a few to make a buck, then you can paint what you want. You don't understand that I won't know what I want. Why not? So how do you answer that one? Because then she'd always remind me of the one I did in one day that I sold for $1,000, and the guy that bought it turns around and sells it for 10 times that! In one day. $10,000. That's probably $1,000 an hour. Doesn't that tempt you in any way? $10,000 multiplied by every day in the year is 365 times 10,000, which would be what? The mathematician, who can't figure out what 4 more zeros would do to 365 unless she does it with her calculator, which she now made a mad dash for, as though time were already wasting. Because in the time it took her to find it and figure out at the rate of $1,000 an hour, I already could have made at least $300. $3,650,000. $3,650,000. Holy shit! $3,650,000. What are you, crazy? We're sitting on over $3 million in 1 year because you're too goddamn lazy to get off your big fat ass. Boy, what money'll do. This from a person who never even used to use vulgarities for one thing, and I didn't have a big fat ass for another. Boy, people in glass houses. And most of all, just what makes you think 365 paintings of the same thing are going to sell, Rachel? Because it works for other artists. Then they're not artists. And you are. The final argument. Because she was right. If I weren't, like I sometimes claimed, then what's stopping me? But if I were, then why wasn't I more sure of my sense of purpose? Why wasn't I consumed with an overwhelming desire to paint? Why was I always so uncertain about its place in all this the way she wasn't about the money? Because that's what it's all about, Gus. The money. You mean like your horses that are supposed to make us so rich they put us in debt another $30,000 a year? It takes time to build up a business. 7 years? Well, for me, it is an art. And if you made enough money, I wouldn't be in debt. I wouldn't be so strapped. We could move to Arizona, and I could get that ranch I always wanted, and I could, in other words, I work while you play. Besides, what's enough? For you, it's never enough. And around it went, when in a word it all came down to one word, money. She always wanted more. Besides, how do you know it wasn't a fluke? Because you sold it for $1,000, and he turns around and sells it for 10 times that. Any idiot can figure that out. It sold twice. That's no fluke. And the second time for, what's the use? Right, because this idiot still can't figure it out. So it was good, or at least popular. It doesn't necessarily mean 365 more clones are going to have the same appeal. Why? People don't want clones, they want something original. So you change it around a little. That's what all those other artists do. Why am I even arguing about this? You got the taste of a Harlequin romance reader. I do not. Only because you don't read. But she wouldn't hear me, because she'd be launching into some other schmaltz angle now. And probably the only people I know with worse taste own the galleries. And it was my own fault. It's not like I didn't know. It's just that I always thought it was overemphasized, someone's lack of culture. At least until it comes around and nails me too. Besides, how did I know when I married her I'd become an artist? Gauguin didn't start until his late 20s. So I didn't start until my early 30s. And look what happened to him. At least I supported her. And I didn't run off to any islands as much as I'd like to, because if it weren't for my kids, I'd have been gone. In a flash, too. Yeah, Bahamas, Jamaica, right on down to Barbados. Even if I didn't necessarily plan on moving there on a permanent basis, a few months wouldn't have hurt at all. Not me, anyway. Kids, maybe, yeah, I feel guilty when I'm gone for a week even. I mean, I'm always just a phone call away or a short drive, but always available. Even if they don't call me, I'm still here. Always. Waiting. The only time I was ever gone was to check out some scenes in the Bahamas, and even then it was rush over and rush back. Some guy commissioned me to paint some islands at his expense. I could have taken my sweet old time about it, since it was at his expense, but I didn't want to be away from my kids too long, in case they tried to get a hold of me. Some Gauguin. To be continued. Confessions of St. Augustine. Now available on Amazon.com.